Let's talk about RB1 DNA and how white people attempt to Caucasianize the Bible and take it as their own history versus looking at the origins of the Bible and the DNA. Hey guys, this is Jacolia of Jacolia Gems. Thank you for once again coming back home, family. For those of you that happen to be new here, welcome. I definitely hope that you hear something today that will persuade you to stay. If you have not already done so, exactly what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button, like the video, comment down below, and share it to your social media platforms. Today I'm going to specifically stick to the RB1A discussion, and I'll leave linguistics and other things for other videos as previously discussed. When we begin to look at RB1A in Western Eurasia, we must be aware of the fact that the Fulani and the Dinka, and when we look at Fulani, this will have a little linguistics. When we look at the Fulani, they are the ancient Libyans or the Phut, and this is the son of Ham, father of Kemet of Egypt, father of Cush, from the Cushitic Ethiopians, the Cushitic Arabs, the Sabines, so on and so forth. When we begin to look at the Fulani, they are also called Fula. They're called Gula. They're called Gullah. They're also called Pel. Pelgulaful. You guys get it because we know linguistically P, PH, G, and C can be interchangeable with the F. And like I said, we'll go into all that in later detail. When we begin to look at the Fulani relationship to the Dinka, they're directly related. The Dinka are known to be the tall people. Now, when we begin to also look at the Fula with them being called Pel, we must know that they are related to the Philistines, who appear as Pel as well. And then when we look at Peleg, the son of Eber, Peleg, that's clearly the same root as his name. Now, them as well as some other people end up becoming part of the Sea Peoples. In their relationship to the Philistine, this is where we begin to see the relation to the Dinka. You see how that began to line up because Phut and the Philistine are both from the seed line of Ham. So when we began to look at the Philistines, they were pushed out by King David in 1000 BC to become the Berbers that we begin to see on today. So when we look at the name of Goliath, the Gol would begin to speak to the goal that the Fula is rooted in as well. And then when you begin to look at this, it is referring to a tall person, giant. It means big, it means strong, it means hero, it means warrior. And we already know Goliath, right? And so this is also the name of the Gaelic people. I have no choice but to go into a little language and history. My apologies. So when we begin to look at Germa, Germa, that's clearly Germany, Germa, Libya, this is where these people groups came from. And when you begin to look at German historians, they actually say, German historians begin to state that the ancient Fulani are the ancient Germans, and this definitely begins to line up. They are warriors. They have the same name, the German. When you begin to look at how these people groups were even depicted. When we begin to take a further analysis of the Western Eurasian DNA, they share 40% of that DNA with the Fulani and with the Dinka. And these are Hamitic people groups, not even Semitic as of yet. So just imagine you have these West Eurasian people whom are claiming to have onus to the Bible, and half of their DNA come back to Hamitic peoples. This is quite interesting to me. When we begin to look at the biblical narrative, and we can all begin to accept the fact that before the flood, the Bible begins to take place in Saudi Arabia, the Arabian Peninsula, and Chad, Niger, the Sahel, Libya, Morocco, Mauritania, Niger, that Congo, the Niger Congo Sahelian region. And when we began to look at all of these places, and then after the flood, Noah ended up landing on Mount Ararat, and this is in Turkey. And we need to be aware of the fact that these people immigrated back into their original land masses as well, whereas some did decide to remain. So when we began to look at the Sahelian regions that I just began to name, this was West Africa back then. The coastal region that we see were inhabited by giants. Scientists, archaeology, as well as the oral tradition of the people group, as well as the written narrative of the book of Genesis, the book of Judges, and the book of Ruth began to talk to us about the book of Joshua, the giants that were in Canaan. When we began to look at the RB1 DNA, we already saw how it is in Western Eurasian, how the Western Eurasians, 40%, that's almost half of their DNA, is the same in common with the Dinka as well as the Fulani. RB1 DNA, and I don't have this in front of me, is found in Ghana, highly in Ghana, highly in Chad, highly in Niger, highly in Libya, in all of these regions that I just forementioned. It's very important to know that there have been researchers to begin to vehemently state that this DNA came out of Africa. And we will begin to prove this. When we begin to look at Cheddar Man, he is located in Ireland, he is located in Britain, and he is located in Spain. First of all, the Iberian Peninsula is literally named after Eber. That's a Hebrew place. When we begin to look at Ireland, this is named after Yari. This is named after from the tribe of Judah, Y-A-I-R. We can even say it's named after Eri, E-R-I, who's a Gadite. We know without a shadow of doubt that the tribe of Asher as well as the tribe of Judah is responsible for the red hand of Ulster. We know that the Danu of Ireland state that they left out of Egypt. Now people begin to say, oh, what about the white skin and the red hair? That's not how the native people looked as whole. We're going to tackle all of that in cases, right? When we begin to look at the description of the white race in the Bible, these would be your Horites coming out of Mount Seir. I want to let you know that the white race literally means Laban or Alban, Alba. This is what you begin to see, Albany. You will begin to see Elba. You see Alba in Canada. And Alba with Canada didn't start being called Alba until the black lobbyists who were known to be free Negroes and free Mulattos, specifically from the tribe of Asher, coming into Canada. So it means to turn right. Laban, whose name clearly inspired it, is the brother of Rachel. He is called the Syrian. The Syrians became one and the same as Aram. Aram is the son of Eber. The Aramaic people are Afro-Asiatic. Syrian is one of the main languages that the New Testament was written in. When we begin to look at the Horites and turning pale, this is also in alignment with what people begin to describe as the leprechauns of Ireland. And we're going to line it all up. Leper clearly means to turn right by biblical standpoints. Con would mean a con. Leprous, a con. When we begin to look at the description of the Horites, they are called troglodytes. These troglodyte people are also known as pygmy. The pygmy troglodytes were not only seen in Mount Seir, which we know is part of Edom, a part of the Arabian Negev. This DNA in these people groups originated in South Africa, in the Niger Congo. The pygmies are troglodytes. they began to go up into the Eurasian regions as well. So even these people with the white skin were an African people. Let's continue. Their skin turned white, and since they didn't have any scabs or anything on them, some of their hair turned blonde and they were rendered clean. Yet when you begin to look at lepers, they are called albinos amongst us in West Africa. The lepers, the albinos twins, they are all looked at as having some type of magical senses to them. So a lot of albinos don't even live amongst the other people groups, depending on where you are at in Africa, because they get kidnapped. They get chopped up and used for magic, and some people believe that they're evil and all these other things. So they had to go and live autonomously outside of Esau beginning to subjugate them out of Mount Seir. So remember, they came not only from Mount Seir, which is where the Arabs are coming from, they came from the Niger Congo as well. And these Picts, or these pygmies, would be the original people that inhabited these areas. And I'm not even talking about Cheddar Man. I'm going before Cheddar Man even began to exist. So when you get in 9000 BC with Cheddar Man in Ireland and Britain and Scotland, it's very important to know that Cheddar Man is lactose intolerant. We should already know the people groups that's lactose intolerant. African American, Native American, these are the same people. About 80% of African Americans are reclassified Native Americans. We've covered this before. Your West Africans and your Hispanics. So these Cheddar Man not only have RB1 DNA coming out of Africa, not only are the pygmies or the troglodytes coming out of Africa, not only is the white skin and the blonde hair coming out of Africa, we now have lactose intolerance coming out of Africa into Eurasia. When we began to look at the dark skin, dark hair, and blue eyes sing amongst Cheddar Man, it's essential to know that this OCA2 gene originated in Zambia, in South Africa, and in Central Africa and North Africa. So we are still in Africa with all of this white features, what people like to say. European don't mean lack it to be Negro. If anything, EBO, what Europe was called, literally means Hebrew. EBO, UBO, like that. That's ours. Bring that back over here. Run us our ducats. So when we begin to look at the world's highest population of dark skin, dark hair, and blue eyes, we will see this amongst the Haitians today, who are known as the Igbo, who are known as the Ebiones, the Ebionites, the first progenitors, thank you, of Europe, as we just began to forestate. When we began to look at the red hair, we see that among the Horites. More importantly, we see this red hair amongst Esau. Esau was a black Arabic man, and he was described as being red and hairy all over. We could say that he was red and ruddy like Queen Latifah, or a red bone like, who's red? Like Aubrey Drake Graham, or like French Montana. Those phenotypes. We know that we have two different type of red. We look at the Edo language, who are Nigerians. These are Edomites as well. These are the descendants of Esau. And their language, Edo, means yellow. And this would be a light-skinned black person. Edo means red. And this would mean a ruddy complected black person. And so he had red hair as well. So we know that Esau, he not only clearly was in the Saudi Arabia, Esau married amongst everybody. He married some Hittites, some Horites, some Ishmaelites. He married into the tribe of Benjamin, into the Greeks, into the Romans. He married everybody. So when you begin to look at the Idoma, the Edo, the Agala, in West Africa, we begin to look at the Hausa, Hausa. They are not only in Chad, Libya, Niger, so on and so forth. They are in the Arabian Peninsula. Hausa. Esau spelled Esau. That's the same roots. the ayin, shin, wav. The shin and wav is the same root in Hausa. The word Odom, Odom, means red in the Hausa language. This is the second most spoken Afro-Asiatic language next to Arabic, and that's just because it's another form of Arabic. When we begin to look at the Hausa people, the amount of RB1A DNA is higher in them amongst anybody else. So when we begin to, I'm going to have to go here, look at the Celtic language. It's an insular language related to Arabic as well as Hebrew. More importantly, when we begin to look at the origins of the kilt that is seen in Ireland, the kilt is first seen in 3150 BC on Narmer's palette and in ancient Egypt. And Narmer is known to be Nimrod the Cushite. Like this is Black history. This is Afro-Asiatic history. We began to even listen to the music and stuff and the call and response of the tonality of the Arabic scale in comparison to the Irish scale. It's identical. These are Afro-Asiatic people groups, and we've already named all of the Israelite tribes that went into Ireland as well. I hope you guys begin to learn about RB1 DNA and its origin in the Sahel, Libya, Chad, Morocco, Mauritania, so on and so forth, going into Western Eurasia. I truly hope that you begin to ascertain that red hair and white skin originated with the Horites living in Mount Seir, meaning to turn right, and these were called troglodytes, and troglodytes were also found in South Africa and the Niger Congo, and both sects of them end up being called the Pygmies, who end up being called the Picts when they began to enter into Europe. I definitely hope that you begin to ascertain the fact that dark wavy hair with black skin and blue eyes originated in Africa as well, and is highly seen amongst the Haitians, the Igbos. Lactose intolerance was first seen, and the gluten rejection is not only seen amongst Cheddar Man, who is in I'm sorry, y'all, who is in Ireland, Somersault, as Somret, as well as Spain. So yeah, this history is black. Oh, and let me say this. The way that the first church in Britain actually was built was because Joseph of Arimathea, or Joseph the Just, who is the father of Yahushua, he began to sail there after the ascension of Yahushua in 333 AD, and he ended up founding the Church of Britain. But there was already Israelite synagogues and churches in Europe before that even happened, before the first century AD. So, yeah, everything that you guys believe in and that you own came out of us first. Even if you are a Horite, you gotta figure out, like, am I a Horite because I have pale skin and red hair, or am I Edomite? But we also need to know that ruddy and red hair applied to the tribe of Judah as well, as we see with David and Solomon. This is Jacodia.